Welcome to the Split Bill. I don't want to call it the Split Bill Radio Hour, but I officially called it the Split Bill Daily Interview. But I think I'm going to change the name. I keep saying that, and mostly I just call it Split Bill. Welcome to Split Bill, folks. I'm Bill. I'm Bill Poss. Hey, Keith, how you doing? Welcome to Monday, the 13th of April, and I have a guest on from Austin, Texas today. Actually, she's from. I have to correct that now. She's from Nashville, Texas. But I know her as an Austin singer-songwriter by the name of Jaimee Harris, and I'm very excited. I've never met her until just about 5 minutes ago. I met her digitally, and so I'm very excited to have her on. This is the first time I've interviewed someone that I had never met before. Most of the people I've had on have been friends of mine or people that I've known for years and years. So we're entering new territory. Tomorrow I'll have Will Kimbrough, also someone that I've actually met a couple times but don't know well at all. And so hopefully we can all learn a little bit more about these people together. Hi, Susie. How you doing? Susie's checking in from Port Dover, Ontario. All right. Very cool. All right. I'm going to start out with a song that I wrote. I wrote this with Slade Cleaves, probably going on 20 years ago, probably 18 years ago. And I'll tell you a little bit more about it after the song is over as I bring Jaimee onto the show. I grew up at a crossroad from the Illinois Central line. Late at night, hear the whistle blow. Sometimes after midnight, my daddy'd stumble in. Voices started rising from below. My daddy had some money, he owned the grain and feed. He was a well-respected man. He drank too much whiskey, more than any man should need. He came home with an empty heart and a heavy hand. A rich man hears a whistle blow and he hears a sound of money. A mother hears a train that took her baby away. A young man hears a long, slow ride to a land of milk and honey. And the sound of his mama crying in the kitchen as the train rolled away. It was a cold December dawn when I heard the front door slam. I knew he was looking for a fight. My bedroom I lay trembling in hatred and in fear. Darkness barely touched by the morning light. Through the house he rumbled and through the house he roared. Nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. But when my mama hit the floor, I swore that it would end. And I set my mind on the barrel of his gun. A rich man hears a whistle blow and he hears a sound of money. A mother hears a train that took her baby away. The young man hears a long slide to a land of milk and honey. And the sound of his mama crying in the kitchen as the train rolled away. There's a shotgun in a boxcar and a freight train headed west. Me, I'm in a cold car rolling south. Many are the miles in my future that I see. No more fear inside my mother's house. We once lived in tears together, now we're safe but all alone. I swear at night I can hear my mama cry as the trains keep rolling and the whistles keep blowing at that crossroads on the Illinois Central line. A rich man hears a whistle blow and it sounds just like money. Mother hears a train that took her baby away. The young man hears a long, slow ride to a land of milk and honey. The sound of mama crying in the kitchen as the train rolled away. I hear the sound of a long, slow ride to a land of milk and honey. And the sound of my mama crying in the kitchen as the train. All right, that's a song called Crossroads. That was on two of my records, actually. It's on my Long Way Home album, which I put out in 2003, and then I re-recorded it for my Hey record, which I put out in 2012. Anyway, I wrote that song with Slade Cleaves, and Slade is an old friend of mine, and we did some touring together. And I told him this story about my uncle and my grandpa, and it was not. I mean, the story that I told him was a true story, but we took that story and we went with it. But I'm sitting here in the house that my uncle grew up in and my grandpa built, and I'm staring out at the railroad tracks right there in the distance. I can see I can see a train out there, and so it's kind of special for me to be able to. I live in the house now, and to be able to have come back here now. Isn't that strange? To write a song thinking, that the house might be torn down by now, but instead I'm living in it.
Often the song knows more than the writer does, if it's a good song.
That's right. Hi, Jaimee. How are you?
Doing all right. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for agreeing. I know we've never met in person, but I actually was in the room with you at Folk Alliance, but I ducked in and ducked out. I can't remember the song that you sang. It wasn't one of yours. It was it was a funny song that you chose.
Was it Bop by Hanson?
Yes, it was. That's right.
Yeah, so hilarious. My friend Lou DeMarco and Lorraine DeMarco, they put on this show called The Guilty Pleasure Show, which is the last night of Folk Alliance. And so, after a whole week of everyone singing their hearts out in earnest, serious songs, everyone just plays the most ridiculous stuff. It's always really fun to see who gravitates towards what song, like guilty 90s country pleasures. And I'm like, that's not a guilty pleasure. That's a great song. It's a fun show.
Well, my wife was just working on a Shania Twain song from the mid 90s. And
yes.
That's a guilty pleasure of mine. I still like those songs.
Me too. All the Jody Messina stuff. I grew up on that stuff because I grew up in Waco and we didn't have a local record store or an NPR station. So I gravitated towards what was classic rock station in 90s country. That was my jam.
Right. Well, I drove through Waco 1 million times approximately. And, and I spent a little bit of time there, but I kept trying to find a place to play a gig in Waco. And I was like, there is not the slightest bit of interest in the kind of music that I play in Waco. I used to go hang out at that place called the Uncommon Ground or
Common Grounds. Yeah.
Common Ground. Yeah. Common Ground.
Yeah. That's a trip. That place, there's a guy that is now the head of the Wizard Academy, which is a really interesting place. If you don't know about that, it's kind of, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but a lot of weddings happen there because you can get married for free there. But I was in a band with him for a while, and at Common Grounds is just this really small coffee shop on Baylor campus. And for a while they had this red or black and white checkered tiny stage. And when I first started playing, I played with my dad, and there's this back patio that had a door. So one time somebody opened the door and we both fell backwards. My dad fell completely backwards like outside. And then my punk rock friends and I wanted to smoke cigarettes. So we ended up building this stage outside, and that's when they started doing outside shows. And now it's huge, and people like Patty Griffin play there, and massive acts that have come through there. The guy that does a lot of my poster work, his name is Shay Scranton. He does most of the art for Common Grounds too. That's how I met him.
And they're getting people out. They're getting people out for those shows.
Oh yeah,
that's
totally.
Wonderful.
And there's a young songwriter named Thomas Chorba. I sang on his first record when he was 17 years old, and he's from Houston, but he's living in Waco now. And he and his friends, I think he must have been 20 years old. Him and three of his friends opened another coffee shop, and they're all huge fans of Guy Clark and Townes Van Zandt. And so they're bringing songwriters to come play there. It's called Pinewood Coffee. So Waco's growing. Pinewood Coffee. Yeah, there's some spots now.
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Cool. I saw Ray Wiley Hubbard was advertising some show in Waco. He was hanging out someplace there, but I never did get the name of the place.
Maybe I don't know the name of it. There's a historic theater there that they renovated, and they're doing shows in there now. Wasn't there a show also, or a story when Ray Wiley got invited to be on Letterman? He had a gig in Waco, and he had to have a discussion about whether or not he should cancel his Waco gig to go play Letterman.
I had not heard that story. That's a good one.
I think that's a true story.
Right on. So you got started in Waco. I love the story on your bio on your website. If anyone has not seen that, I posted it earlier on Facebook. So if you haven't seen it, is it Jaimee JaimeeHarrisMusic.com?
It's just JaimeeHarris.com.
Jaimee Harris. You have a unique enough spelling of your name that you can probably get away with that. So it's Jaimee Harris, and you can go read that. It was probably a lot of things to do on our website that you can check out. But you were a kid. You were a young girl when you started playing the guitar.
I got one for Christmas when I was 5, and then when there was this Emmylou Harris song called "Light of the Stable," it's a Christmas song that I put on repeat and I would not stop listening to. And so my dad decided, well, maybe she would like a guitar for Christmas. And then 2 years after that, I discovered Fleetwood Mac, and I didn't care if I was Stevie or Lindsay, but I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Nice.
And then for a long time, my dad, both of my parents had me when they were really young. They were about 20 when they had me. And so my dad played in cover bands through college and through law school to support us and to put himself and my mother through school. And so when I was 10, I started playing cover songs in between the set breaks of his 4-hour shows. And there was a woman named Beth Petrick from Tomball, Texas, that was the getaway car, because sometimes I would play a couple songs and the bar guy would be like, okay, she's kind of cute, but you can't have her here in the bar. You got to take her out. And so for every set that I didn't get to play, Beth would buy me a CD. So I either got to play songs or I got to get an education in the form of a compact disc. So it worked out. And then I started writing songs when I was about 13 and started playing with my dad when I was 14. Very
cool. If you read the bio is actually, and I said it twice now, but it's very interesting. It talks about your journey to sobriety.
Yeah.
So when you made your record, and that's how I discovered you. Somebody, I think it was Elizabeth McQueen, put me onto you from KUTX radio, and so I checked out your record, and I really like the record. It's fantastic. In fact, I recommended it to my wife earlier today. Did any of the songs pre-sobriety make it onto the record, or did it all end up being new songs?
Yeah, they did. Creatures was one of those. I'm trying to remember. That might be the only one, actually, now that I think about it. I think that was the only song that was pre-sobriety. Which, if you don't know, if you're not familiar with my music, Beth Petrick is watching. That's so incredible. I put out that record in 2018, and I started playing original songs in 2004. So I've been playing for 14 years without ever releasing a record.
Wow, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm. It was amazing that I got to do a lot of things that I got to do, like play the Kerrville Folk Festival and television appearances and all sorts of Old Settlers, I think, even happened before my record came out. So pretty lucky.
And when did the name of the record is Red Rescue? And when did that come out?
Came out in September of 2018.
So a year and a half ago or more. Mm-hmm. I was listening to it again today, sort of with a mind for questions for you, and I was really noticed the breadth of songwriting, and a lot of people talk about having a lot of influences, but it's clear from listening to you that it goes all the way from Guy Clark or Emmylou Harris or whatever to Fleetwood Mac, and I love that about the record. But it still is a nice, cohesive piece of work. So, hats off for that.
Thank you. That was one of the challenges that Craig Ross had. Craig Ross produced the record, and it was one of the cool things about how we linked up, because he loves Fleetwood Mac, but live, a lot of, the Fleetwood Mac influence is more prominent with all the harmonies. But what Craig did was said, why don't we strip those, but put these 12-string guitars? So you have the experience, this kind of familiar experience of listening to Rumors, but it's not totally in the forefront of your mind, which is really cool. But the challenge he had was that, this song sounds like a barroom country song. This is a full-on rock and roll song. And as someone that I have I don't know if you can see it behind me, but a huge vinyl collection, I still like to consume a record from beginning to end. And I wanted everything to make sense. Like it's intended to be listened to from beginning to end, and the visuals to tie in. And I think he really accomplished that. So thank you for saying that.
Well, I know that I've noticed that your post about John Prine, and of course I'm a huge John Prine fan, but he did that. He made records that were often just him by himself with a guitar, and then the next song would have steel guitar and fiddle and everything else on it. And I didn't pay much attention to the production of it until I started making my own records, but I was blown away by that, and it gave me the confidence to try to do that sort of solo to full band production style. And so I have an appreciation for that. I was going to ask if you would play a song. First, I have a question that escaped me. Since I don't have your vinyl, I can't look at your liner notes. Who was the guy singing harmonies with you? Was there more than one? I don't know, but I noticed there was a guy that was singing.
Yeah, so it's Craig Ross sang a lot of harmonies on the record, and then on Creatures, Chris Nelson, who's been a bass player in my band for 5 years and sings harmonies with me live, he sang on that song. And then Jimmy LaFave, my mentor, who we lost in 2017, sang on Red Rescue.
Oh wow, that's you cut it pretty close there, getting him on that record.
Yeah, we knew he was sick by the time he sang on the record, and but I was really grateful that he did. I sang on Jimmy's last record, and he was still able to sing absolutely beautifully until about 2 weeks before he passed. That voice just carried on.
What a signature voice, man. I loved him, and he was such a sweet person. And you didn't know me well, but he was so kind to me, just another guy coming around. But I was very, very sad when we lost him.
Yeah, me too. That was hard.
People are going to start clamoring for some music. Do you mind singing a song?
Yeah. Well, since you mentioned it, I'll go and play the title track here for you.
I'm gonna go off the screen, so don't panic.
There was a darkness in that house, I felt it chill my bones. Saw your mother at the kitchen table, just sitting there, arms crossed. I did a line to make it through the night. I did a line to suppress my appetite. She offered us what she had to eat. Guess she'd been holding on to those holiday meats. I smell the milk before then from the refrigerator. Pulled a long black hair off my plate. Said, baby, let's get out of here. I'm gonna save you. I'm gonna save you. Red rescue. I'm gonna save you. I'm gonna save you. Red rescue. The walls were colored on like blood. I never looked, but I swear there must have been a dungeon. I saw your brother there, sleeping on the couch. Don't think he's moved since, don't think he'll ever get it. Oh, I'm gonna save you, I'm gonna save you. Red rescue. I'm gonna save you, I'm gonna save rescue. Oh, I'm gonna save you. I'm gonna save you. There is a darkness in our house. I felt it chill my bones the second I carried you. Wedding dress over the threshold. You told a lie. You told a lie. It was easy for me to believe. Well, all that you said was it's not as bad as it seems. But it was, baby. How am I gonna save you? How am I gonna save you? Rescue it, rescue. Oh, how am I gonna save you? How am I gonna save you when that darkness sleeps and you too? How am I gonna save you? How am I gonna save you? Rescue it, rescue. Oh, how am I gonna save you? How am I gonna save you?
That was wonderful. Thank you.
Is that a wife approval in the background?
Yeah, she's woohooing back there. So your music and Shania Twain's her today's diet of music.
It's fine with me.
Thank you for that. Getting a lot of comments from people all over, people from Edmonton, Alberta, and from nearby here, but all around really. So
Wow.
I want to thank everybody for joining us. We are broadcasting this live. So if you're watching at 3:22, you're seeing us live in real time. Check in. Let us know where you're viewing from, so we can see what our reach is here. This is a lot of fun. So I mentioned at the beginning of the show that I think of you as an Austin singer-songwriter, and in fact, I think I mentioned that Elizabeth McQueen talked you up, but I think it was also Andrew Tyson. Andrew Tyson? Yeah, he's been bragging on you for some time.
Oh, I love him.
And that's what led me to check you out at Folk Alliance and to ask you if you would play at the Moccasin Creek Festival in June, which is still scheduled, and only a short 5-hour drive from Nashville, Tennessee. But hopefully we'll be able to do that in June 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. I think that you are scheduled for Friday night.
That'd be great. And whenever Gretchen Peters is going to be there, I'm going to be there too. Because
she's there the next day.
I'm a huge fan, and sometimes she asks me to sing with her, and I can never turn that down. So if Gretchen's there, I'll be hanging out.
She actually asked me if she could have you sing with her.
Oh, great.
That night, and I was like, well, she's scheduled for the night before. I don't know if she'll hang around or not, but we'll see. So we'll have to see if you have another gig that night. But anyway, I hope you will stick around. So I started this by saying that I think of you as from Austin, but you live in Nashville for 2 years now.
Yeah, I moved to. Well, I was kind of like in between spots for a while because I quit my day job in May of 2018, and I really didn't exactly know how that was going to work out. On paper, it looked like a nightmare and impossible, but I just had this gut feeling, and I was roommates for 3 years with this awesome singer-songwriter named Jane Ellen Bryant, who will be with me in June, singing harmonies with me, and she had that same gut feeling a year before, and it all worked out, and I made the decision. I was the only person at my office. I worked for a doctor. And so I did all the bookkeeping and the office stuff, everything. So I knew I was going to have to really make a hardcore decision to leave. It had to be the right time because it was kind of a miracle job. I only had to be there Tuesday through Thursday from 11 to 6. So for a musician, that's kind of a miracle job. And it kind of just worked out. I received a grant from this organization in Austin called Black Fret, where 20 artists are nominated every year. I see my friend Noelle Hampton is listening. She's nominated this year with her band, The Bell Sounds. And at the end of the year, the members who join, they pay a fee to kind of have this curated experience of Austin music. So they get to go to different showcases throughout the year. And at the end, 10 artists receive a small grant, which I think the year I received a grant, small grants were $5,000 and big grants were $20,000. And so that helped kind of fill the gap, between being an unknown, mostly outside of Texas artist to touring the world in 2 years. And then I landed in Nashville permanently in May. Yeah. That's
a great story. We salute all these organizations that are helping. I mean, there's a lot of people who are helping musicians now. The corporation, which is a 501c3 not-for-profit that puts on Moccasin Creek Festival, is called POS Music Works. And we've been attempting, we've written a total of $1,700 in checks to local people who are primarily get their income out of music.
Wow. Trying
to help them get through at this time. I know it's not a lot, but it makes a difference, I think, to them. And so when I see these people writing checks for $10,000 and $20,000, it's inspiring. I spent a lot of time in Canada, and the government actually does a lot of support. They get grants to make their music and make their records and that sort of thing. So it's a lot different here in the States, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
We had a comment from Alex Taylor, who says, listening in Denver, Colorado, my wife and I love your music and your Listen to Women shirts.
Yes. So I had this idea. I can't remember where we were, but Mary and I were on tour somewhere, and I was walking down the street, and I said, I had this idea for a shirt. And it says, listen to folk, listen to punk, listen to hip hop, listen to women. And all of my merch is designed by fellow musicians. So my friend, Paige Renee Berry, who's a musician and a graphic designer, created it. And a portion of the proceeds benefits another Austin organization called the Sims Foundation. I don't know if you're aware of them, but they help musicians get access to affordable mental health care and addiction and recovery services. And they've actually been able to expand that program to not only help musicians, but to also help sound personnel and roadies, tour managers, that kind of thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great. Alex was my guest on Friday. He's the lead singer and guitar player for a band called Chain Station. So
right on.
Tuning in. But he's obviously tuned into you. So that's cool. And his wife, Liz. All right. So you want to sing another song?
Sure, yeah. In the spirit of that, I'll play this song. Let's see here.
You're getting a hello from Tallahassee, Florida.
Is it Grant? Oh, Ken. Hi, Ken.
Winker.
The Purple House. That was a fun night. Wow.
I knew a guy in Austin called Winker, but I don't suppose it's the same guy.
Winker with an I. Legendary.
Yeah.
I love Winker.
Yeah, you know Winker?
I know Winker. I spent kind of a long time hanging out at Mystery Monday, which is the show that Christine Albert hosts with Bill Kirchner every Monday. And everyone always goes over to Don's Depot later. And this is kind of tied in, but I used to spend a lot of time at Don's Depot when I was still drinking. But no one really knew me. I just had a friend that lived really close and we could walk by. And so we kind of I always really loved that place. It's an old train depot turned into a bar. And there's this thing, you can climb up this pole in the women's bathroom and it's kind of has this inside roof and you can kind of spy on everybody. Which if you're a songwriter and you're a people watcher, it's a perfect bar. It's this really cool combination of people that come to dance and people that come to drink and people that, West 6 lawyers. It's a weird, fun spot. There's a real deep sense of community. The schedule hasn't changed of musicians. So, lots of old time Austin stories, which I love. And I started going there a few years ago, I think around 2016. I remember I watched the Cubs, the World Series there, and I watched the 2016 election there. And I just started spending a lot of time there writing songs in the corner. And My intention is to one day put out a whole record of those songs that are scribbled in on bar napkins all over. Winker would hang out there and take photos of everyone that sat in with Chris.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Chris Gage has had a residency on Monday nights, for 20 years now, at least?
At least 20 years, yeah.
It's a free show. You walk in and get a drink. So, all right, I'm going to get out of the way.
All right. Thank you, Heather, for that yes. Well, I never thought I'd find God here, full of nicotine and caffeine, shaking with fear, just praying for another day to stay in the clear. I never thought I'd find God here. I never thought I'd draw sober breath. I always thought I'd be a wreck. Always figured I'd have nothing left. Well, I never thought I'd draw sober breath. But I gave up the cocaine, gave up the gin, freed myself of the hell I was in. Asked the Lord to keep me clean again. And the Spirit came and picked me up, kissed me on the cheek and wished me luck, told me I could call it a good friend, my good friend. Well, I never thought that I'd move on. Oh, but I'm getting used to sleeping alone. Just one flashlight and a pickup drum. Well, I never thought that I'd move on. But I gave up the heartbreak, gave up the man, freed myself of the hell I was in. Asked the Lord to let me love again. And the Spirit came and picked me up, kissed me on the cheek and wished me luck, told me I could call a good friend, my good friend. Well, I never thought I could be free after all those nights in the DOC. I'm thankful God's forgiven me, 'cause I never thought I could be free. But I gave up the cocaine, gave up the gin, freed myself of the hell I was in. Asked the Lord to keep me clean again. And the Spirit came and picked me up, kissed me on the cheek and wished me luck, told me I could call a good friend, my good friend. Thank you.
The 3 people clapping now. Probably people clapping all over.
Wow.
Saw Chip Dolan checked in. Hi, Chip.
Yeah, Chip, I owe you a phone call. I'm sorry, brother. I'll call you back.
Chip's my second favorite accordion player from Austin. I only say that because I had an accordion player in my band when I was in Austin named Oliver Steck, and so he's naturally my favorite because he's my pal. Anyway, I'll quit playing favorites. I
love
so
it.
have you had a productive isolation at all? I mean, have you been writing?
Yeah, actually, I have. I'm in a couple of groups on Facebook that are specific to women in the industry. And in one of those groups, someone posted about this thing called the Step Up program by Carrie Cole, which she's offering for free right now. It's a 52-week program. And it has been so great for me because every day it has a vocal exercise and guitar. So like after this, I have a guitar lesson with Michael O'Connor. and
Michael, yeah, cool.
Yeah. And I think like I actually went through probably the longest period of writer's block in my career over the past 2 years, because I think everything in my life changed. Like I went from staying in one place most of the time and playing gigs and going out and seeing lots of live music and knowing how inspiring that is to me, and playing with a rock and roll band, to being a solo artist on stage, for 2 years and swirling around the world and being in a relationship, and all of that was so much change that I didn't know how. I don't know. It was just an adjustment, and I don't think I figured out how to write to it. But one of the things that being on the road for the past year as primarily a solo artist has taught me is that people that know me know I'm actually pretty afraid of speaking, which is why I turned to songwriting, because I feel like I'm not a very articulate person. My brain kind of goes in a bunch of directions, and I'm just not sure it always makes sense. Like, so grateful to my friend Heather for clarifying that information about Don's Depot. It could just go really wrong. And that's why I think I use songs, because I feel like I am able to communicate in that way. And on stage, if it's just you and your guitar and your stories, it's taught me a lot. Like, I think I didn't want to be known as a chick singer. So there are a lot of things that I can do with my voice that I've shied away from because it felt like showing off. And now I realize that's all I have to work with. So I need to work with that. And also telling stories. It's pretty boring to sit on stage and talk about myself for 30 minutes. So I've had these experiences, luckily on the road, that show me this song helps somebody else, and I can use this song to tell their story, or I can use this song to express my anger against the criminal justice system in America. And sitting at home, I've just had this desire and now the time to write somebody else's story. Of course, kind of like David Olney. David Olney used all these incredible perspectives to tell stories, but he was in every song. John Prine was in every song. He was the old woman. Every single song, John was there, David was there, and I'm trying that out now, because I do believe that I do this to be of service, and I think as writers grow, they get out of their own story, and I'm just in the growing pains of that, and I'm sitting down every day facing a blank page. Yeah,
that can be an imposing thing to do, to sit there. And the blanker it is, the harder it can be. It's like just getting that start, sometimes. Mm-hmm. Do you have any methods? Have you learned any methods to jostle it loose and start moving in the right direction?
I started meditating again, and that's been really helpful to me, because sometimes just an idea will pop out in the silence, that it's like, oh, that's what I'm thinking about today. Or just sitting down and writing for some days it's 5 minutes. Every day it's 5 minutes. I'm going to write something. It might not make sense. Right. And one day I just wrote, I don't want to do this. I don't have anything to say. The world is burning. I just wrote that. And the next day I spent 3 hours writing a song. So you just never know. I think it gets out. If you just spend every day working on something, it gets out the bad ideas. And the other thing that I have is, when I'm reading, or if I'm listening to someone tell a story, or just watching stuff on TV, and something sticks out to me, whether it's a word or a line, I have a whole Google document it's called Scraps. It's just all of these things. Like the other day I had a co-write, and I think it was Butch Hancock that said it, but he said, we were having a conversation around New Year's, and he said, even a stone isn't set in stone. And I went, writing that down in my scrapbook, and then it came up in another song. So you just never know when those come together. And sometimes, just revisiting songs that you've always felt like weren't quite finished. You don't always have to face a blank page. You can go and say, how can I make this better? Or maybe I've lived longer enough now and have had more experiences that this song can now be finished, because it couldn't have been finished 2 years ago because I didn't have the experience to finish the song. I didn't know what I was talking about 2 years ago. Spirit drove my hand to write some of this, and then it stopped because it said, you're not ready to write this song yet. You're not ready to sing this song yet.
That's interesting. When you said earlier about John Prine is in every song and David Olney's in every song, I think in Townes Van Zandt, I think it's also true. I mean, not just those greats, but so many people. Butch Hancock is someone that a lot of people have never heard of. And he starts out with the Studebaker, the Cadillac, the Pontiac, and Ford. And it sounds like music, but it wouldn't sound like music to most people if they just heard those words, right? But I think that the great ones, and I would put Mary in this category, Mary Gauthier, they teach us how to go from a simple idea and how to turn it into poetry and art, and also that conveys something, that makes you feel something. And that's what you're talking about. I think is you can get the start, and then it's the work. Then the work begins, right? And the craft.
Butch, actually, as far as an exercise, this is one thing. I've been fortunate to get to know him a little bit, and he'll share little secrets. And in February, because I guess it's the shortest month, he said he did this exercise, and he challenges songwriters to do it every February, where he said he woke up and he would write one line every day for the month of February, and it turned into the song at the end. And he said if he felt like he was forcing the line, he said, that's not it. The line hasn't come to me. Sometimes it's upon waking, sometimes it's in the middle of the day, sometimes it's at the end of the day, but just one line. That's kind of a cool exercise to write a song that way.
It is. It's also, I mean, I go through phases in my life when everything I hear somebody say sounds like a song to me. Like I think, oh, JJ, yeah, that happens to us. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a line of a song. And then there's times when I can go months without thinking that way at all. My head's not turned that way. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? The camera's not angled right or something. And so it's nice to find a trick like that, maybe to get your head turned the right way. If writing is what you feel that you want to do.
Yeah. And, another thing that I've learned too, that's helpful is not just sitting down going, this is going to be a song. Today I'm writing a song or a verse, like sometimes I write in poetry that rhymes, and sometimes I just write anything, an essay, a blog, just like I said, even putting on the paper, I don't want to do this today. I don't feel inspired. All I want to do is watch Forensic Files. I mean, there are pages in my songwriting book that just say, I just want to watch Forensic Files today. But I think there's something about knowing that you sat down and you tried, you just committed to it. I think that builds up confidence over time, which is helpful.
Yeah. So the reason I'm going hunting for mushrooms, even though I haven't found any mushrooms in 6 years, I'm still going to go look for them today.
Exactly.
Very cool. Can we get one more song from you before we wrap up? And
sure, yeah.
And thank you so much, Jaimee, for coming in and introducing yourself to the Moccasin Creek Festival family and to my friends. I can tell you've got a lot of new people checking you out. So,
awesome.
So thank you.
Well, thank you guys for listening. It means so much, and thanks for having me. It's nice to virtually meet you. And
right. I hope we get to see you again in person in June.
Yes.
I'm gonna exit, and then I'll take you out when we're done. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thanks again, folks. This is Jaimee Harris from Nashville, Tennessee. She's scheduled to play at the Moccasin Creek Festival on June 19th, Friday evening, and she claims she's going to stick around and check out Gretchen Peters on the 20th. So we'll hopefully we'll all get
a lot of you guys know that when Mary and I first got together, we were in different parts of the country, and we were both on the road, and we couldn't stay in one place long enough to send each other postcards. So we started sending each other love songs with the magic of our iPhone. And for Ken, this is Woody Guthrie. It says Woody Guthrie for president. and like I was saying, sometimes you write a song and you think it means one thing, and then as you go on, it develops more meaning. And I think that might be true with this song. I really believe that incarceration should not be a response to addiction. And I'm thinking so much of every single person that's dealing with this pandemic inside of a prison or a jail. A lot of people are in jails that are just there because they can't afford bail. they haven't been convicted of a crime and they're just there and they're dealing with this, and it breaks my heart. And I had the opportunity with the program called Truth Be Told, which brings in interpretive dancing instructions or instructors and music into prisons in Texas. And I got to sing this song in the Gatesville prison, which is the women's prison, about 30 minutes outside of where I grew up in Waco. And so when I sing this song, I think of those women now waiting to see their loved ones and waiting for that connection. And I'll be sure to keep them on my mind during this time. And all of you guys out there, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share these songs today and to visit with you. I really appreciate it. They said that it would come, and the heavens opened up, and the sky began to cry all the rain. Saw it all from Tennessee, wishing you were here with me, wishing I was wrapped up in your arms again. I keep listening to your song, it helps me to carry on in a world I seem to be floating above. You're a million miles from me, but it's quite the poet's dream to feel such a longing, feel so tortured, know such love. Won't you keep me on your mind as we wander through this time, marking off the days with X's and O's? I will do the same, you know, but I ain't that far behind. As you go, won't you keep me on your mind? I can only dream of all the places you have seen, or to fly on the wings of a song. We'll spin our tale in rhyme, putting love in every line, and we'll be singing here together before long. Won't you keep me on your mind as we wander through this time, marking off the days with X's and O's? I will do the same, you know, but I ain't that far behind. As you go, won't you keep me on your mind? All right. Oh, it's too hard to think on all the days that come between the next time I'll hold your hand in mine. One day you'll greet the dawn, I'll be riding right along, but while you're gone, won't you keep me on your mind? Won't you keep me on your mind as we wander through this time, marking off the days with X's and O's? I will do the same, you know, but I ain't that far behind. As you go, won't you keep me on your mind? I will do the same, you know, but I ain't that far behind. As you go, won't you keep me on your mind?
This is JJ,
Hi,
Jaimee.
JJ.
Hi, Jaimee. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for your kindness.
I love the finger picking there. That was real nice.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Jaimee. And tomorrow, folks, we will have Will Kimbrough, the alien, as I call him. I've heard him called by others, and I can't wait. Sure is a nice guy, and I can't wait to talk to him and learn about Will Kimbrough tomorrow at 3:00 Central Standard Time. Folks, tune in. Wednesday, the rest of the week. Wednesday we have Cody from Chicago Farmer. Then on Thursday we have Robbie Folks, and on Friday we have Neil Sausage of the Mighty Pines. All right, we'll see you soon. Thanks.